Good day everyone and welcome to this presentation on data classification levels. So a lot of organizations nowadays handle a lot of data, vast amounts of data, and it's essential to protect this data from unauthorized access. So data classification is then becomes a critical process that helps organizations categorize the data based on its sensitivity and importance. So what I say when I say data classification, this is a process of categorizing data into different levels based on its sensitivity, importance, and potential impact if compromised. So this helps organizations to apply appropriate security controls and protect their data from unauthorized access. So data classification is also essential for some reasons, such as it helps organizations to identify sensitive data and apply appropriate security controls. It ensures that data is handled and stored in accordance with its sensitivity and importance. Then it also helps organizations to comply with the regulatory requirements and industry standards. So here I have 5 data classification levels. I have public, private, I have confidential, I have restricted data, and then top secret. So when you're talking of the first one is public data. This is data that is publicly available and can be freely accessed by anyone. So public data is information that is explicitly intended for open access and distribution. This type of data is intentionally made available to the public, and it includes examples such as company websites, social media, press release, product information, marketing materials, press release, published researches, and then company brochures. Public data is not sensitive, and its disclosure does not pose a risk to the organizations. Right. We can also talk of public data that includes company annual reports, social media posts, press releases. Yes, these are types of public data that we have. Then we move on to internal or private. This is data that is not publicly available and is intended for internal use only. So this information is meant for use strictly within the organization, and this is not intended for external distribution. Right. This type of data is not sensitive, but is not intended for public disclosure, or if distributed, the organism could cause minor harm or inconvenience. We can talk of internal memos and company policies. Examples of private data also include employee phone list, internal meeting minutes, company policies and procedures, then internal reports. Then we say that its disclosure could cause inconvenience or even embarrassment to the organization, but this causes minor harm or Then we move on to confidential data. This is data that is sensitive and could cause harm to the organization or individuals if compromised. So this sensitive information, if exposed, could result in significant harm to the organization or individuals, right? This type of data requires protection from unauthorized access and includes examples such as financial information, customer data, employee personal data. We can talk of personally identifiable information, names, addresses, phone numbers of people. Then we can talk of protected health information, then financial records, employee files, and business strategies. Financial statements, customer credit card information, employee social security numbers, and confidential business strategies. Then we move on to restricted. This one is highly confidential. This one is data that is highly sensitive and requires strict access controls. So this data represents the most critical and sensitive information within an organization. So this type of data is highly sensitive and it requires protection from unauthorized access. Examples of restricted data include the trade secrets, intellectual property. We can talk of sensitive research data. We can talk of merger and acquisition plans and top-level executive communication. Then we move on to top secret data. And this data is extremely sensitive and it requires the highest level of protection. This type of data is extremely sensitive and it requires protection from unauthorized access. Example of top secret data include the national security information and highly classified research data. So top secret data is extremely sensitive and its disclosure could cause catastrophic harm to national security, human life, or the environment. We can also talk of sensitive military information and confidential government information. So we discussed about asset classification in our previous lecture. You can go back and check. Then asset classification should match the data classifications that we were talking about. So in other words, if a computer is processing top secret data like national security information, military information, confidential government information, the computer should also be classified as a top secret asset. So similar, if media such as internal or external drives holds top secret data, the media should be classified as top secret. So it is common to use clear marking on the hardware asset so that personnel are reminded of data that can be processed or stored on the asset. In conclusion, we are saying that data classification is a critical process that helps organizations protect their data from unauthorized access. So by categorizing data into different levels that we mentioned, based on sensitivity and importance, organization can apply appropriate security controls and ensure that their data is handled and stored securely. Right? Thank you for your attention.